We met, I have to tell you how I get to know this person. During the COVID, I decided to start to write my experiences in traveling. I've been studying the grammar school, so I should have been able to write actually, but it's not true. So I decided to join La Scuola del Viaggio, which was online, where you can learn how to describe your experiences during your traveling and things like this. And it happened to be online, and I was the only one experienced in tourism. All the other participants, they were teachers, professors, and things like this. And I started to get a kind of empathy with my professor, Claudio, who became a very close friend of mine. I am going ahead with this friendship, and I joined last year a very nice experience in Greece, where I spent my holiday, 1 week holiday. During the morning, we were listening to something very interesting regarding writers that describe travels. Of course, everything has been done in Italian. And then during the afternoon, we were discovering parts of the islands, hidden parts of the islands, not like the normal tourist, but off the beaten track, let's say like this. And then trying to get your inspiration to describe your experience, your emotions, and things like this. And we spent 1 week in Cefalonia, on this island. So I'm pleased to introduce you Claudio Visentin. He will talk to you about his experience. And this year we are very proud of saying that we will be having this Scuola del Viaggio summer course in Trieste. So we will be hosting it in Friuli Venezia Giulia, and I think that Claudio will say something more regarding Trieste, because Trieste is an inspiration for everybody. It's a very different city. It's a kind of melting pot of cultures, religions. Is with one foot in the Balkans, with the other one in Europe. So it's the melancholy, it's the joy, it's everything, let's say. So we will be having the summer course, the summer school there for 1 week. And that's it. We invited Claudio, and he was pleased to come here and to share his experience and everything with you. So feel free to ask questions at the end. We are not in a hurry. He will be pleased to answer you, of course. Claudio, the stage is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you so much. So I don't have a real PowerPoint presentation. We can just open it, Eleonora. So just to show some picture to them and about the topic of today. Now we try if everything works. We have this. I know how to use this because we have this at home for the cat. You know, that's true. That's why we have it. We have a fat cat, and so it needs training, and this is perfect. You know. Okay, so this is our topic of today, that is about 50 years of Interrail. Have you been of Interrail? Some of you, I think, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, yes? Half of the class? Positive experience? Yes, good experience, fine. And it's a bit, well, it's yes, please. Because it's a 50 years anniversary, it was not noticed in the press very lately, but it's quite a strange anniversary, but it's quite an important anniversary. And this is also linked to we talk today about sustainability, and this is also linked to the rediscovery of the train. We will talk a bit about this, rediscovering one means of transportation. This is the train in 19th century, and this is really what created the tourism as it is. It means the tourism as we know it, that is not exactly travel, started in 1830 because of the train and the steamship, but especially the train. The importance of so the train is really the magic carpet for tourism, as you may say. For two reasons. That is not speed. The first trains were not quick. They were very slow, 20 miles per hour. But with trains, you can transport as many persons as you want, and the arrival time is predictable. It means if you go to the station, you say, my train yesterday, it arrived at 6 p.m. 14, not 15, 14 minutes. It means exactly that time. So you can make plans, you can make arrangements, you can pick up people and transport them to the hotel. So the train was really a small revolution because it was on time. The train is always supposed to be on time, and so it was possible to make, it's not always, you know, especially especially in Italy. Well, in Switzerland, they are always on time. I work in Switzerland, and is somebody from Switzerland of you? And you know, in Switzerland they are really on time. If they are not on time, it's a national tragedy. I mean, the newspaper write what's going on, we need a new government and so on. Anyway, so just to underline the importance, of course, so what we may say is that tourism doesn't need the airplane, or it didn't need the airplane in the beginning. Everything was working with the cruise ship, the big cruise ship, Titanic and so on, and of course the railways. 1830 is the first passenger train, 1830, so it's 190 years ago, so tourism is more or less 200 years old. But now we move to another day, that is 1972, that is this one. It means 50 years ago. 50 years ago, some things, interesting things were happening. One curiosity, one Japanese sergeant, Shoiki Ikoi, he was found in the forest of Guam Island in the Philippines, and he thought that the Second World War was still on. You know, he was still fighting against the Americans after 30 years. So the last Japanese was found in 1972, and it was informed that the war was over 30 years before. In the same year, Bill Gates and Paul Allen founded the first basis of Microsoft. So the first thing that we know as Microsoft was founded in 1972. So it's curious. On one side, the past, the Second World War still running. On the other side, the future, Microsoft. It means 50 years ago, Microsoft was founded. And in that year, two young people like you, that was Tony and Maureen Wheeler. Tony is my friends, these two guys. This is when they landed in Australia. And they are Tony and Maureen Wheeler, and they are the founder. Sorry, they are the founder of Lonely Planet, the most important guidebook publisher. But in 1972, they were not famous. They were not famous at the moment. This is when they landed in Australia. And in this moment, Tony always told me, they had 28 cents in their pocket. So they could not use a taxi because they didn't have $1, 28 cents left. And they had met in 1971 in London. She was from Ireland and he was a Londoner. They met on a bench in the park in London. They tell me the story every time we meet. And then they fall in love very quickly. They married the following year, but they decided that this is the marriage. They decided that the hippie trail would be their honeymoon. So the honeymoon was the hippie trail on the route, on the land route, overland route to India. It means that was the most popular travel in who's here. It was the hippie time, 1967, San Francisco, the hippie era. They were not exactly hippie, but they belonged to that generation. And so they decided that the honeymoon would be the overland travel from London to Kathmandu into Nepal. And this is the honeymoon. They travel Isfahan in Iran, Taj Mahal, and so on. This is Frick Street, still existing in Kathmandu. We have a Frick Street, it means a hippie street, even today. And this is their landing in Australia, where they intended to stay in Australia for some time and then come back to London, but they had no money to come back. And so they say, we may publish a guidebook about our travel. And this is the first guidebook they published. It's a 50 pages guidebook. The entire Asia is available in 50 pages. It's a small booklet. You can download it for free on Amazon if you want. It's available for free. And this was the first guidebook. So it was intended to raise the money to go back home, but they didn't because it was very successful. And so they became famous as publisher. This is how they created the guidebook in a hotel room. And then the guidebook was a huge success. 1981 India. You can see how big the volume is from here to here. The difference, it was a huge volume. They published India 1981. It was guidebook of the year. And so this was a huge success. And they became publisher in in Australia, and so in Melbourne, and they're still Australians these days. Their travel really changed. I wanted to use this picture because it's funny. You never see the director of one big company in topless on the front cover of a book, but this is what they did. This is the Sri Lanka travel guide. It's also very interesting to see this young generation of explorers. The hippies were explorers. They were not exactly interested in tourism, but they wanted to discover new places. But they opened the way, they paved the way for the tourism industry. I wanted to show you this because this was the Tangala beach in Sri Lanka, and Maureen, before writing about the beach, she experienced the beach. It means it was holiday, it was travel, and then she produced the travel book, the guidebook, and today this is Tangala beach in Sri Lanka. In every day, this is what you can book. So it's also very interesting that this generation of dreamers and hippies, they also were the forerunner in some way of a huge industry that is tourism. And today, tourism has followed the footsteps of hippies. This is quite a strange story. Anyway, this was another interesting story happening in 1972. And the third one is about our Interrail story. And it's a strange story because you have to imagine a very bureaucratic organization. I mean, it exists this International Union of Railways. It means there's a general body in the world coordinating all the different railways in the world. It's a very, very bureaucratic body, you know. They just take care of rules, regulation, and so on. And even the most boring people of the world can have one day of genius, you know. In 1972, they thought, well, we may offer a special, it was the anniversary, it was the 50th anniversary, half a century of this organization. And so they say, well, we can offer some special ticket, you know, to celebrate this anniversary. And so they offered one special ticket that was intended for people under the age of 21 in the beginning, so you had to be younger than 21, and basically you could go everywhere in Europe for 1 month. That is the basic idea of Interrail. You pay one small amount of money, and then you can go all around Europe for 1 month, and so this was intended. This is very interesting. It was intended to be a one-time experience, but it was so successful, it was so enormously successful that later it became permanent. They sold hundreds of thousands of tickets in 300,000 tickets in 1 year, and so they were surprised by success. It was a totally unexpected success. Why? Because young people discovered this way of traveling. It was very interesting. You could sleep on the train. If you had no money, you could sleep on the train during the night, for instance, or spare your money, or in some youth hostel. You meet young people from all around Europe, and so it became immensely popular. Another very interesting thing was that this union of railways, because the body was a union of railways, it had no political significance. So even the East European countries were present in it. And so you could travel, for instance, to Yugoslavia, or to Tito, to Poland and Hungary, that were in the East Bloc of Europe. They were in the communist area. It was not so easy to go there. But with the ticket, because they belonged to this organization, they were included. And so, for instance, these were the first travel to East Europe. Of course, the Easterners, it means the people of East Europe, they could not come to the West. But people from the West, they could go to the East and see the communism, life under the communism in every day. You could go to Franco, Spain, that was a dictatorship, and so on. So it was very interesting. And you have to think that, you can see here also I collected some. This was the ticket. It was a very simple ticket. You had to fill it yourself. And I was a bit younger for this, but it was my generation. You had to fill it yourself. And this was the first poster of Interrail. 2 elements, for instance, the guitar became a permanent visual symbol. In every picture, you see the guitar and the backpack. That are the 2 symbols of Interrail. And you can see that in the beginning it was less than 21, then 23, then 26, and then the term was extended. This was all, you can go all around Europe, as you can see, with some East Europe as well. And these were the first poster. And this one, for instance, the backpack was really a symbol. You can see here, younger than 26. It used to be 21 in the beginning, but now it's 26 a bit later, and so on. And this was the kind of experience you had on the train, second-class train all around Europe, and so on, playing the guitar, singing, etc., etc. You have to think that, so we are 1972, so the euro was introduced 1999. It means it means 25 years later, and the Schengen is 1985, basically, it means 15 years later. So there was nothing, Europe was just a political term, but there was not European experience, not the same currency, not the same passport, there was no freedom of movement, so it was really a new thing, that you could go all around Europe, and so probably in some way, Interrail has also created Europe in some way, and it's very important for this creation of the idea of Europe. In 1982, it means 10 years later, they had sold 300,000 passages, and then there was the fall of the Berlin Wall, 1989, so 15 years later, there was the fall of the Berlin Wall, and everyone thought, now is the time for Interrail. It means, now is the dream time for Interrail, because now the borders are open to the East Europe, you can go everywhere. 1989, the fall of the Berlin Wall, I remember that day, and so everybody was expecting the Interrail to explode. But tourism is very complicated. Instead of exploding, it was the beginning of a crisis. It was the beginning of the crisis because in 1991, that is 2 years after the Berlin Wall, Ryanair was founded. Ryanair was founded, and in 1987, the Erasmus program started. So this new generation was no more interested in Interrail. Interrail was a bit a thing of boomer, you know, people in their 50s today. Today, when you listen about Interrail, most cases are people in their 50s or 60s, you know. It was something for that generation. The next generation had new opportunities. Erasmus, that means to spend the semester abroad, and low-cost companies to go wherever you wanted. As cheaper as a taxi, with the money, with the cost of a taxi, you could go everywhere in Europe. And so for some years, for 10 years, Interrail was a bit forgotten. But then lately, in the last years, it has been rediscovered. This is very interesting in tourism. When we speak about innovation in tourism, we always think about new ideas, but old ideas. It means there's a Russian motto. They say everything that is forgotten is new. Everything that is forgotten is new. So, for instance, two of the most interesting proposals in tourism today, that one is Interrail and the second one is cruising, are very old ones. It means they have been rediscovered. They are not exactly the same, but they've been rediscovered and reproposed. So, one important element is that innovation in tourism can also be rediscovering something. And so now we will see why Interrail is still very popular these days. It's coming back to popularity. At the moment, we can travel to 33 countries in 2022, in 33 countries. And it's so important that United Kingdom decided to stay. I mean, the Brexit was in every field, but not in Interrail. In Interrail, they still belong to the community, and so there was no train exit, as they say. 10 million of young persons have traveled with Interrail since the beginning, 10 million, and in the last years, 400,000 tickets have been sold. In the last normal year, that is 2019, 400,000 tickets have been sold. In the first 10 years of Interrail, 300,000 tickets. Now, only in 1 year, 400,000 tickets. So it's really a resurrection, very impressive. It's very popular these days. And of course, we have differences. We have 33 countries instead of 20. Now the ticket the ticket, this one, the traditional paper ticket is one up, of course. You use a lot of technology. You have a very lively community if you want to exchange ideas, get information. And what else? The most popular ticket is 7 days in a month. It means you travel, you have 1 month and you can spend 7 days on the railways wherever you want. Other interesting things is that the young people in 2021, that is the last year, the young people were only 64%. It's very interesting. It means that you have young people doing the Interrail for the first time, but you also have a lot of old people repeating their experience. So we have, for instance, a special discount for senior people that is 10%, that is very interesting, and 30% of Interrail users are adults. It means people repeating the experience they did as young people. This is very interesting, and is the same problem. Tourism is very much about complexity. It's the same problem with Lonely Planet. If you use Lonely Planet in the 60s or in the 70s, you still want to use your guidebooks, but you want a different guidebooks. This was the main problem with Lonely Planet. Or for instance, we have in big cities, in Milan, for instance, we have these new youth hostels. One is in Trieste that we are going to visit with our summer school. In Trieste, we will be in this Otello. Otello is a joke. It means Ostello Hotel, and it's a very comfortable hostel. It means that people in their 50 or 60, they still want the same kind of hostel experience, but they want to be much more comfortable, you know. And so these new products are in city center, the toilet is in your room, the bathroom is in your room, and so on. So it means that it's especially, we have these different users, and it's the same for Interrail. Nostalgic people nostalgic of their youth, but they want to travel more comfortably, and that's why you can also have an Interrail in first class. That is quite an interesting experience. You have a first class Interrail if you want. And then, of course, the young people that still are 64% of the travelers. One strange experience, one experience of this kind, I finished to show you. This is different posters of it. This is the most recent one. This is very interesting for what we are going to say later. This is a secret word, fly. Okay, but that's it. And this is today is very, very much alive. This is a very interesting experience. This is Paolo Merlini, is a friend of mine, and he went to Interrail with his wife 30 years ago. And then he decided to repeat the experience with his two sons. They were 8 and 13 years old when they did it. And he exactly repeated the same Interrail tour that they did when they were young people, but this time with the children. And it was very interesting to see the difference. They went to Denmark, Berlin, Prague, Linz, Innsbruck, all around Europe. And he told me the story. They say the story is very interesting. The most interesting things was, of course, that these are digital native, and so the presence of technology. When you arrive in one city in the 70s or in the 80s, nobody spoke English, first of all, so there was a real language barrier. It was the first element. And the second one was to get practical information was almost impossible. Suppose you arrive in the night in one station, in one city, and you have to find the youth hostel that was always in the suburbs, not in the city center. And so it was really an adventure to find the place to sleep, you know. And this part, it has completely changed by technology. Today, you just use one app and you can find all the information you need. And the boys, of course, were especially useful for this. Another element that he underlined was the fact that the stations are very different now. The stations are very different to the past, but very similar to them. It means that all the big stations are more or less the same. In the 70s or in the 80s, the stations were very, very different. Each country has a different taste, different habits, different tickets. Everything was different, and nobody spoke English, as we told before. So now the stations are big stations, very similar to them. You have Starbucks or you have McDonald's, and so it's very easy to, they are a bit known places in a certain point of view. Anyway, he decided to repeat the experience with the children. It's a family interrail. That's especially family ticket. It means that it's very convenient for the children if you want to travel with your children. So the interrail now is a bit different. There's no limit of age. It was 21, 26, 28. Now you can travel even if you're in the 50. You can travel first class. You can travel with your family. So it has changed a lot. But the core of the experience is the same. It means it's some kind of freedom. You can pick up one train, you go to one station, and you don't know what is the next step. And then you look at the train table and say, oh, I'm going to Prague, I'm going to London, you know. So this kind of freedom, it's really the secret of Interrail. I wanted to underline the fact that tourism is quite unpredictable. So that's not, in my opinion, a lot of innovation in tourism is spontaneous. It means we are not managing it, controlling it, we are following it. Tourism is very creative, it's very dynamic. So in 1972, a bureaucratic organization created a dream ticket. Nobody imagined this. Then this dream ticket was it declined, then it was rediscovered, and then it was transformed because now the users make a different use of this ticket. So just to see that things are changing continuously. Of course, and this is the topic of today, one big element today, of course, is sustainability and the climate change, of course. So suddenly, the competition with the airplane was won by the low-cost companies. It means Ryanair and EasyJet won the competition in the 80s and in the 90s, and they were the most important means of transportation. But then, for instance, in Italy, the train fought back. We have the Frecciarossa, it means the quick train, the speed train, still is very useful in France, TGV in France, or Frecciarossa in Italy. So the train conquered back some space. And now we have these elements, of course, of the climate change. First of all, for the aircraft companies, the airlines, they suffered a lot during the COVID. They are so much more expensive than the train. There was one data that is very, very interesting. In 2020, Lufthansa lost, the German company, Lufthansa lost 1 million euros every hour. Every hour they lost 1 million euros because it's an expensive business that if something goes wrong, for instance, an epidemic, it's a disaster. And then they also had another problem, the new airplane that was supposed to change everything, the Boeing 737 MAX. They had two important crashes, two accidents, so it was stopped the use of this new plane. So the airplane industry, the airlines had problems, and in the meantime, the train became more popular. There's also a change in mentality in the Swedish language. That is, of course, where Greta comes. You know, in Sweden, they are very sensitive to the topic of climate change. In the Swedish language, we have a new word was created that was flygskam. Is somebody from Sweden here? No. Okay, so I can pronounce the way I want. That's very important. This word is flygskam. That is mean shame of flying. It means that's a new word. It's about the sense of guilty when you think that you are flying and you're causing environmental damage. When you go to Paris to New York, I wanted to find the exact data, and when you go from London to New York, you directly causes the melting of 10 square meters of Arctic ice. Every time you go from London to New York, 10 square meters of ice in the Arctic, they melt, they disappear because of your fly. So that's why in Sweden they say they have this flygskam. And it means that you have the money to pay for the flight, but you prefer not to fly because you don't want to cause environmental damage. And they also have new words, that is Taxskirt, that is preferring the train, or Smygflyga, that is, that's very interesting. Smygflyga means flying in secret. Means you use the airplane, but you pretend you don't. Because you're ashamed of it. And there's a new word for this, that is Smygflyga. And in 15,000 persons in Sweden in 2019 decided never to fly again, 15,000, and 23% of the Swedish people stopped flying in the last year. So this is also very important. It means that me too, I fly 3 times per year only, and I stay longer in destination because I feel this kind of flickscam. I don't want to contribute to climate change. And so I have reduced the use of the airplane to the minimum. And of course, this is very possible because in many cases, the train is so much better, especially for short distances. The train is so much better than the airplane. For instance, in the you can have the comparison. The airplane, some data really very interesting. Only in 2017, only 3% of the world population uses an airplane. Only 3%. And only 20% of the world population have been on an airplane. It seems very strange to us because we live in the West, but if you go to India, you understand the difference. When in India, in every takeoff from every airport in India, most of the people on board is their first flight. That means they celebrate the first flight because it's the new thing. So 3% of the person use the airplane in 1 year, and only 20% of the world population have used the airplane once. And in the meantime, the airplane only is responsible from 3 to 5% of world pollution. And is an especially dangerous one because it's in the highest and most sensitive part of the atmosphere, of course. So in a more dangerous place. So the one final data, if you want, the train, on the short distance, the trains always wins from the point of view of sustainability. And I wanted to add one data here, for instance, if you go from Zurich to Milan by plane, it's 100 kilograms of CO2 for passengers, 100 kilograms. If you use the train, it's 3 kilograms, 3 to 100. It means on the short distance, the airplane should be abolished, basically. In some countries like Switzerland, you could always use the train. It's where I work. You could always use the train. And in France and Switzerland, we have a huge movement against the airplane. They say, you should not use the airplane. Of course, why? Because the airplane are consuming a lot in the takeoff. For the takeoff, they consume a lot of fuel, of course. So in a long fly, at least you use the takeoff for a long fly. But in a short fly, it's really a waste of energy. Anyway, we have this environmental point of view, but we also have, a different way of traveling, a different experience. When you fly, flying it's a strange thing. Flying, it should be magic, like you fly, it's such an incredible experience, You fly like a bird in the sky. Everybody should be looking from the glass, the landscape, but it doesn't. Most people are bored, are annoyed, they fight each other, they drink, they buy things, it's crazy. It means that, that's true, they read a book and so on. And traveling with the airplane is not exactly an experience. The flight is very short. It takes a lot of time before. You have to go to the airport, security check, baggages on board, and so on. Your seat is very small, and you are very close to other people, especially in time of epidemics, and so on. And then the flight is short, and then you suddenly arrive in another country. It means the train, it's also a more interesting way of traveling. You see the landscape, you move in the landscape, the speed is more reasonable, you see things changing, you arrive in the city, Coming here, for instance, from Milan to Pordenone, it was quite quick. It was 4 or 5 hours, very little. But I could see all the different cities. I passed through different cities to come here. With the airplane, I just had 2 cities, Milan and maybe Trieste, you know. But I saw that we have Verona, and then we have Venezia, Padova, Udine, and so on. So the travel is also a more interesting experience, and now it's a more sustainable experience. So suddenly, the flight companies are fighting to survive. They are very costly, and they must prove that they are environmentally sustainable, while the train is already environmentally sustainable. So 3 kilos against 100, 3% of pollution for the train. And so the train is back. I'm close to the end. I also noticed some small facts, for instance, that even in the United States, the railway created United States. It means in 1869 they opened these intercontinental railways, and but then it was forgotten in favor of these airplane companies. And a curiosity is that President Trump, he was the owner of an airline from 1989 to 1992, before he was president. Trump was the owner of a flight company, airplane company. On the other side, Biden, the new president, is a commuter. He used train every time from Delaware to Washington. And so now there's also a new interest for train in the United States. There's a new interest for train in the United Emirates. They were famous for their flight companies, very luxury company. Now they are building railways as well. So United Arab Emirates, the Saudi network is under construction, and so on. So there's a new interest for railways, and this is about, we also have a lot of trains that are selling, and I finish with this, that are selling the experience and not simply the transport. In the field of trains, some trains are selling one experience. This is the most famous one, is the Orient Express from Paris to Istanbul. 1883 it started, and still today you can go to Istanbul with the Orient Express. You know Agatha Christie, Murder on the Orient Express, many movies, books, and so on. So some trains are legendary. Are a legend. You don't have the same for flights, of course. This is the Orient Express. This, of course, is the Trans-Siberian Railways, another train that has been rediscovered, similar to the Interrail, for tourism reason. Is the huge train connecting all the Asia, Soviet Union, ex-Soviet Union Asia, and now it's a very popular train. This is a poster in the 30s. And this is the Bernina Express, Glacier Express in Switzerland. That is also UNESCO property now, 100 years of UNESCO property, of the red train in the mountains. And this is the best luxury train in the world, 2020, is the Belmont British Pullman. It's one train with epoch carriages. I mean, the carriages are from the 20s. And this is another very interesting idea, that is cruising by train. It means the normal cruise, the ship cruise, has become increasingly popular. Today, if you have been on a cruise, is a very popular activity, thousands of people, pools, and so on. And the train is more aristocratic from a certain point of view. It's more elite, top spender possibility. And so the Belmont, this is the Belmont high-class train. It moves very slowly in the British country. You enjoy the meal, the wine, you relax, you read books, and so on. And it was completely booked for 2021. Now you can book for 2023. So it was a huge success. And then we have also in Spain. This is the Transcantabrico. In Spain, we have 2 luxury trains. This is in the north, the Transcantabrico. You can see what kind of experience you have on board. Visual, panoramic carriages and seats that are armchairs. And then in the south, you have the El Andalus. This is a very scenographic train in the north of Canada, in the northwest of Canada, the Rocky Mountaineering, that is a train going through the forest of Canada, and a very scenographic experience. And then in India as well. Just to mention that at the moment, and I finish with this, the train is only, the airplane is still prevalent. It means at the moment 50% of international travel is by airplane and 2% is by train. But things are changing quickly. So the 2 points I may underline in the end, I'm close to the end, the 2 points I may underline are this one, that in tourism, change is the rule. I mean, things are always changing continuously. Change is not an unexpected event, but it's the rule, is normal. Everything is changing because the situation is changing and the reaction is changing, the people are changing and so on. And this is the first element. And in many cases, the change is a rediscovery. So in this case, the train has been rediscovered and an old proposal can be used. The cruises are a good example, but the train is another good example. Nobody could imagine 10 years ago the effect of the climate change, but now we see it even today, that it's so hot, and the train is ready for this, is good for this. Is one of the solutions to the problem is moving back to the train. Why? The airplane, 10 years ago, it was totally successful and everybody was speaking about Ryanair. Now they are really fighting to survive because the regulations are stricter and stricter, and they must prove within 10 years a zero impact. It's not easy to use an airplane with zero impact on the landscape. So let us see if they can win this battle. Of course, they're using every possible technology to win this, but in 10 years they must reduce their emission to zero impact. That seems very, very difficult. And so the train is back. And we saw the same things, and this is really my final word, we saw the same things for Interrail. It started randomly some way in 1972. Nobody expected a success, and people use it and transform it. This is a very interesting aspect of tourism. It means that national offices, politicians, they have plans, ideas, they want things to go in a certain way, but then people do what they want. People do what they want, and they transform tourism from inside. So at the moment in tourism, there's a very little, so we have plans, but they don't work. And a lot is spontaneous, and I like this element that nobody knows. We have a lot of plans for, in the past we had plans for 20 or 30 years. Now we have plans for 3 or 4 years, and they're all wrong. It means they never work. And I like this, novelty, this element of new freshness of tourism, that tourism is always unexpected because it's really a kind of freedom and people do what they want. And Interrail is the perfect example. It was a very boring and bureaucratic ticket for one train organization, and the young people transform it in a new thing. It's the same, the hippies, and I really finish with this, the hippies, they went to India using these old vans. If you remember the combis, the Volkswagen combi, they transform one old van in a new opportunity. So this creativity in tourism is one precious element to me. Thank you very much. I hope.
I thank you so much, Claudio Visentin. When I introduced our guest today, I didn't say that, of course, he's a famous writer, he's a journalist writing for a financial newspaper in Italy, which is Il Sole 24 Ore. He's the author and the writer of books regarding travels. And the last one, it was talking about the lighthouses, and it reminds us of his travel to Scotland. It's written in Italian, of course. He's a person in charge of La Scuola del Viaggio. He has got a very long curriculum, but he's a friend, first of all. And what we share together is this enthusiasm to share the experience we have with the young generations as you are. So I think that maybe after listening to this presentation, you have some questions for Claudio. If you have any questions, just be free to ask.
I'm not one of the curious, but I definitely do have a question.
Okay.
Of course I do. Hello. Your speech definitely touched home because I'm from Madrid, and I had difficulties to go back home. My problem, I would love to go by train, but my problem at this moment is not just the time, because it's exactly 19 hours from Pordenone to Madrid. So in this frenetic lifestyle that we have, it's kind of difficult. I can barely have a weekend to free to go to Madrid because of the job, because of the studies. So I actually cannot afford in time to go by train, and I would love to. Expenses are a little bit higher than, at least in my particular case. What do you understand? So the question is, what do you understand for short distances? Because I understand that Madrid-Pordenone is not really that much, it's 2,000 kilometers. But by car, it's 19 hours. By train, is 19 hours, 21, depends on the trains. And by plane, it's 2. So from my point of view, given that I live in another country, that means 4 days less to spend with the people I'm going to see, because it's not just for tourism. So what would you recommend in my case?
Oh, fine. Thank you. Yes, to choose a boyfriend in Pordenone, she says, and marry, have children and a dog here. Here, that's so much more interesting. No, this is exactly the problem. You use one word that is frenetic. Frenetic life is a problem, of course. In the new year of climate change, we cannot afford this anymore. This is the problem. It means you cannot go one Friday, the low-cost model is over. It means you cannot go one Friday evening to, say, Paris, you spend the weekend in Paris, and then you come back on Sunday evening. Too much, the impact is too much. You have to stay longer. We can still continue to travel, but we have to stay longer. It means that if you can stay 1 week or 2 weeks in one place, you should not go there by plane. This will be the rule very quickly, in my opinion. And so the effect of the climate change is not stop traveling. We can continue to travel, but we can't make short breaks. Short breaks are over. And so you have to stay longer here, and really the joke is positive, and you have to stay longer and go to Madrid once or two in the year, and in that case you can use the airplane, because it's for longer flight, for longer distance, the airplane is even competitive. But we have to change a bit our lifestyles, and this idea of, the low-cost companies, they really created new model of life, In the past, if you live in Madrid and your boyfriend was in Berlin, it was a tragedy, It was not supposed to last. But now it's normal, Every weekend you go there with EasyJet. This is crazy. We did this for 10 years, okay, but now stop to Berlin boyfriend. It means we have to change life. These short-term travels are over. This is clear. We can travel, but not so quick. And I would say, even if you believe to my experience, it was frenetic. I saw a lot of people. We stopped working Friday afternoon and 5 p.m., 6 p.m. at the university. We stopped working, and the only thing I wanted was to sleep. Second one, walking with the dog, if I should think something. But some of them were going to the airport to go, say, to London, to Paris, and then they spend the weekend in London and Paris, and then they come back on Sunday evening, almost dead. And on Monday morning, they were in the office again. So this is crazy, this is not traveling. It's too intense. And I think that many of these experiences have not been even so interesting. If I think to my most interesting travel, there was slow travel, long travel, and these short breaks, they didn't give me such memories, or I don't know. So the idea is stay here.
Okay, stay here with your boyfriend. Yes?
Yeah, it maybe relates a little bit to this question, but you say like, so when it comes to sustainability, the train will always win from the plane. But if you look at it, the plane is cheaper and quicker. So I feel like in these days, people will still always pick the plane over the train. So I'm just curious on your point of view, what do you think would need to change to make people more aware of this? And like, is it making the plane more expensive than like EasyJet and Ryanair are doing it right now? Because like, is this really possible? Like, yeah, what do you think?
Well, yes. Thank you. It's very simple. I think the answer is simple, and it is that the airplane is not cheaper. Exactly. It has a lot of hidden cost. If you are, for instance, in Milan, I went to Marrakesh. I went to Marrakesh a couple of months ago, and I paid 50 euros for the taxi to the airport and 30 euros to go to Marrakesh. That is a 3-hour flight. Of course, that's not the real cost. I mean, somebody is paying for me. And this somebody is the Marrakesh Tourism Office. They want tourists, they want to attract tourists, so they give a lot of money to the Ryanair companies to make the tourists come. So when you fly, your flight is cheaper because you have hidden cost. And all the community is paying for the hidden cost. And remember what I said before, that is only 20% of the people use the airplane in the world, 20% of the world population, but the entire population pay for the airplane with their taxes. So it's even some kind of privilege that everybody pays for, but only small numbers enjoys. So in the end, when we will bring back the airplane to the real cost of it, even the real cost today, I mean, what it really costs, it will be clear that the train is cheaper than the airplane. So, yes, please.
How would you make people aware of this? Because now you tell us this, but I feel like most people don't even know.
Yes, of course. You have a problem of information, but cost is a very interesting, it's a very clear information. When it becomes more costly, of course, it's a real information. Probably we really should, what we really need is really change this model of travel. And so you should use the airplane once or two in the years. How this will be economically sustainable, it's another big question, of course, for the companies. But this will be forced very quickly. As you can see, even here today, climate change is moving very quickly. And so this is going to, I wouldn't invest my money in airplane companies for the next year. I mean, regulation will be stricter and stricter, and the training perspective will be a winner. Of course, if you go if you go to a distant destination and you use the airplane, you have to stay longer. If you go to Australia, for instance, Australia is on the other side of the planet, you have to stay 2 months, 1 month, 2 months. You can go there for a week. It's crazy to go on holiday in New Zealand on the other side of the planet and stay there 1 week just to see a couple of major attractions. It's crazy. In a quick time, we will understand this. And so once in your life, you go to Australia and you spend 2 months there, and it's Australia in your life. So you're not going, maybe you're not going back in the next 20 years or so. We have to change the model in this direction, I think. Anyway, the answer to your question is the airplane have been helped too much, and they have a lot of hidden costs that society is paying. This is the answer.
I don't know if in English, but only maybe it's a too difficult question, but to you as a man of Sole 24 Ore, financial newspaper, I'm not so utopistic. I want, the more I get older, and I think that the problem is how to balance the financial decisions with the growth of our knowledge and consciousness. Because maybe if first the financial decisions decide not to invest in airplanes because year after year they lose, maybe the consciousness of sustainability and slow travel can grow, but it's not a simple thing, because it's enough that one market grows up, that all the other are words and words and words, no? Are you skeptic or are you optimistic in this field?
Well, I'm not that optimistic, but we have some elements of optimism, and of course we need all these different things, that is to spare the water. Each of us can spare some water. Of course this is not the solution of the problem, but it helps in some way. Of course we need technologies, a lot of new technologies we don't have in the moment, and we also need the financial to support. The good news could be that this transition is a huge business. The best moment for European economy was after 1945. The economic boom in Europe is in the 50s. We never had such a period of prosperity and job for everyone and money, and it was in the 50s, it was after the Second World War, because it was about rebuilding everything. So this idea of creative destruction, that is, you can't use the airplane anymore, you have to build railways, you have to transform the city, you can't use the cars anymore, most likely. All this change, of course, is a problem, but it's also a big opportunity. And so this is the hope, that the political governments, they have to set regulation, and then the companies will develop new business, and this can be very interesting, also very profitable to them. Otherwise, of course, it can be. I mean, now it's really very dangerous not to act. Of course, it's really very dangerous. And so I hope they will do. I'm not so optimistic, but I hope that they will do.
Thank you. So first I wanted to ask about the summer course in Trieste, to know more about it. I'm curious. And a question about the climate change and how planes affect it. Do you think that this is of utmost importance to focus on flying less? Because I think when people fly less, they use cars more, and the car infrastructure, like electric cars, is not so developed yet. Not a lot of people use Teslas, it's not that affordable. And the big companies are mostly, how do I say this? Because flying is 3-5%, but then manufacturing, for example, phones, notebooks, and all that stuff, fast fashion is responsible for way more of the climate change. So what do you think about that?
Yes. Well, first of all, we have to be very practical. For instance, the car in itself is not wrong. If a car is full of people, if you have 5 persons on board, the car is perfectly sustainable. It's the best way. For instance, the long distance bus, the Flixbus, that it's another rediscovery. The bus was a new thing in the 60s or in the 70s, and then it went a bit out of fashion, and now it has been rediscovered as well. The Flixbus, for instance, is quite sustainable, because if it's full of people on board, it's very much sustainable. So the problem is not the car in itself, but are the effects, and so we have to be very practical from this point of view. The flights, of course, we have more problem. There's no doubt, and they are investing a lot of money in technology to try to do this. Rich people, they will continue to. They want to continue to travel in this way, and most likely they will pay more in the future. They are planning new airplanes, subsonic airplanes. They will be ready in 2025, 2026. It's something similar to the old Concorde. You can go from London to New York in 3 or 4 hours, but you will have to pay a lot of money to do that. So most people will have to be more sustainable. But basically, the answer is going slower. You know, we had this kind of over tourism in the past year that was too much, too quick. And we have to slow the pace for some time, of course. About Trieste, About Trieste, it's a summer school, as I mentioned. We will spend 1 week in Trieste with this class of 25 persons and exploring a city, basically. What is very interesting to us in Trieste is the fact that it's a well-known city. You have a lot of narratives and stories, writers, and so on. If you want to prepare for your travel in Trieste, it takes 1 year, and to read everything, the guidebook is something like this. So, you know this experience probably. You are the first days in a big city, like Paris, and I remember I was in Paris, it was a Saturday morning, I was in my hotel room, and I was, afraid of going out, the guidebook was something like this, so many things to see, and in the evening you are so tired. If you remember one day that you were really, really tired, you were a tourist, not a worker. At work you can sleep, take your time, have a coffee and so on. But when you are a tourist, sometimes it's so tiring. You have so many places to see, and if you don't go to see them, you feel wrong in yourself, So sometimes visiting a big city can be very tiring, exhausting, and even not so interesting, from a certain point of view, because you are going to see many, many different things, museums and so on. So the challenge to us is also what you do when you are in a city. How can you visit in a city in a different way to rediscover the pleasure of it? You are in Paris and you go to the Louvre, you spend 6 hours in the Louvre, and you see thousands of pieces of art, and in the end you are confused. You're not happy, you are confused, And so how can we rediscover the pleasure of being there, even ignoring some elements of the city, even this idea that you should see everything when you go to a place? We will go to Trieste, we will spend 5 days there, 6 days there, we will explore some aspect of the city, and some other we won't. Some narratives may be interesting, some other. So what we won't try to do is to see everything. To see everything is really probably the wrong way, even, and then I stop on this, when you are in a city center, imagine when you are in a European city, in the city center of London or Paris, all around you, you have everything belonging to different topics, art, music, spectacle, history, and then you have museums, 16th century, 17th century, 18th century, Napoleon, de Gaulle. How can you manage so different things, topic? The normal tourism experience is an impossible experience. You try to dominate something that is too big to you. So the most important things, when I was in this hotel room in the morning, the most interesting things to me was to decide what not to see. It means what not to see and feel free not to see without feeling guilty. What I'm really interested in. If when I am at home, I never go to a museum of art or to an exposition of art, why should I go to a museum of art when I am abroad? It's not my piece of cake, it's not my interest. So maybe I just go to see something different. When I was in, I can tell a small thing. When I was in Amsterdam, are you in Amsterdam? Are you from? Dutch. When I was in Amsterdam, and I was in front of the Rijksmuseum, that is the most important attraction of the city. First of all, I'm not against museum. I have been a director of museum for 3 years, so I love museum, of course. They're a beautiful place. But I was in front of the Rijksmuseums, and if you are in the right mood, it's a treasure. Inside you have all the Dutch art of the 17th century, also a lot of landscape. You can really see Holland, or the Low Countries, in the landscape in this beautiful painting. So it's a beautiful experience, but it takes hours and it's almost exhausting because it's so rich. It's too rich from a certain point of view. And so I was in front of this museum, so I was a bit scared. So I stopped one person and living in the Rijksmuseum area. If you live in the Rijksmuseum area, the only things you don't go to the museum. You never go to the museum where you live, of course. So you never visit the museum of your own city. only some friends come, otherwise you don't go. So I stopped one person and I asked her, do you live here? Yes, I live here. Have you been to the museum? No, she said, I've never been there. And so I said, what do you do? And she said, oh, there's a beautiful pool. It's a Liberty pool in the beginning of 20th century. It's an old pool, historical pool, behind the museum. I said, we all go there and we swim. And so instead of going to the museum, I went back to the building and I went swimming. It was beautiful, you know. I was expected to spend one day in front of the paintings, and instead I was swimming like in the Caribbean, in the middle of Amsterdam. So this is a good example of, you know, curiosity, and the main problem is not feeling guilty, because of course you can see the museum next time, you can see the museum online and so on, but and that's it.
The pronunciation of Rijksmuseum for the Dutch, I think that for us it's impossible. How do you pronounce it?
Rijksmuseum.
Rijksmuseum, you see?
So, hello. So I think it's all about going back to a slow living, like the frenetic she was saying before, like our society, like just impose us to do, and you feel guilty if you don't do everything in a travel, in everyday life, and it's actually all about being. So we have to go back to a slow living to be able to be a slow tourist, like, and everyone just wanna do, see and tell the other people, oh yeah, I've been there 3 days and I see everything, but it's not about this. Is what are you saying is like, go to the pool instead and just enjoy the day, and I don't know, and I think that this problem is rooted in our society. So how can we change this? To be sustainable, I think we have to go back to a slow living, and then we can be a slow tourist and enjoy actually what we do and be like. How can we do that?
Well, yes. Thank you. First of all, I'm not exactly in favor of the past. I prefer slow travel, but I don't mind if other people do different. I mean, I go to places where in most cases I'm quite alone. I made a beautiful travel in the Czech Republic 2 years ago, for instance, and in most places I was alone, and basically I don't care. It means it's not so important for me what other people do or don't. This is also another aspect. We should be more free, you know, do what you like and let other people do what they want. For sure, we live, I would prefer to say, it's not exactly about slow living. We live in a world of different speed. This is crucial. Sometimes you can be very quick. Yesterday I wanted to come here and I used a high-speed train to come here. And that's good because I had to work in the morning and then I wanted to come here. And so it was a need for me. In this case, you have to be sustainable. If you want to be speed, you have to be sustainable. This will be the new rule. It means technology must help you. And so a speed train must be also a sustainable train. So in the future, we could go quickly if we can be sustainable in that way, and probably it will be more costly. This is one technical problem. On the other side, remember, what I tell to myself is that we are not forced to go as quick as possible always. I mean, in life.
You feel like you have.
Yes, it's social constriction, but you should be free of the social constriction. I mean, we live a different speed. This is very important to me, a different speed. And you should find the right speed for you. The right speed for you. When you play, for instance, a music, sometimes the music is slow, sometimes it's quick. But the best player, not the quicker one, you know, that they do like this on the piano all the time. You know, you have to find the right speed for your life, and it's about you, it's not about other people. So even this social model can be very, I mean, I have met, I work in tourism, and I have met a lot of unhappy people, so many unhappy people, so many unhappy. I really remember in Venice, you know, and one American, he was so unhappy, and he visited this American person. He came to Italy, you know, the dream of Italy, landscape of Italy, cooking of Italy, and so on. He had visited one church, And he was so tired and bored by this long visit of the church, describing everything. And in his program for the next day, he had 100 more churches to visit. And it was very pitiful to him. You know, in tourism, I have met a lot of unhappy people. It's supposed to be an happy experience. But if you look at the faces of the people, they are sometimes very sad because we have a lot of social constraint. We cannot go home. You go home and everybody, you go home from Paris and everybody say, how was the Louvre? They expect you to visit the Louvre. And so you go to the Louvre because otherwise it would be silly to say, I haven't been there. And so they say, oh, you go to Paris and you haven't been, you know, these kind of things. We must be free from this to really to rediscover the pleasure of travel, in my opinion. Anyway, the answer could be this one. We can be very quick, but we are not expected to be always quick. Some experience takes time. You know, some experience are slow. Some other can be very quick if you need for your job or for some other. You know, in this case, I came quickly yesterday, but I don't want to be quick every moment today. Now I enjoy the fact that we relax, we discuss, we spend time together.
Like, I feel the society lets you think that you don't have time.
Yes, one important aspect is that the tourism is very social. It means is a collective attitude. It's something collective. It's something social. And for instance, I don't believe that everybody in the summer they want to go on the beach that is so hot, you know, full of people. And I don't believe that everybody is happy to go there, but this is what you are expected to do. On August, everyone have to be on the beach. And this collective dimension of tourism is spoiling the experience in some way. This expectation, these models, these ideas, and so on. So we should rediscover more freedom in travel and be happy not to be part of the masses, you know, in some way. Be a bit aristocratic, you know, and say, I'm not going there like everybody. Well, it's not exactly the same. I want to finish with this. The best travelers I have met. For instance, we mentioned Tony Wheeler before. There was, we were in Paris and there was a jump-on, jump-off bus. The most touristic things that you could imagine. And, but the jump-on, jump-off bus was going in the right direction he wanted to go. And so we used the bus. He said it's going in the right direction. It's not a problem of being a tourist or a traveler, not doing like other tourists do. You know, he was very happy to say it's going in the right direction, it's a bus, let's use it. This kind of freedom is also to be a tourist in some way. You want to see the Louvre, so there's a long queue, fine. I wait, I see the Louvre, I want to do that things. But the basic question is, what do you want to do? What makes you happy, you know, when you travel, and so do it.
Posso rubare un'altra cosa? I only want to give a suggestion. Eleonora invented many good things this year at IRSE, and one other good thing, beside Curiosi del Territorio, was the first topic of our international competition, and it was read the book, The Ecology of Happiness. There is a famous one written by, I don't know by whom, in English, and now there is one in Italian, written by the certain Bartolini, but it is really at the roots of this problem, The Ecology of Happiness. The title is very, very, very important. Sorry,
There's one last question, maybe? Do you want one more? Otherwise, yes, please. Yes. You finish with a beautiful and clever question.
Okay. I personally think that travel guidebooks are dying. Like no one really buy it anymore, or just old people. So, what do you think can be the future of it? Like, do you think it can reinvent itself, or like, how do you do to, like, for example, how do you do when you travel to not do the classic tourist things?
So,
it's a very good question.
Yes,
Claudia.
good question. Are guidebooks dying? This could be the question. Well, 10 years ago, everybody thought that guidebooks were dying because they were declining very quickly. But then, somewhere around 2014, 2015, they stopped declining. At the moment, they are not declining anymore. And because, all in all, the guidebooks is a good tool. It means it's not costly. It's something like, say, 20 euros. It's quite cheap. You know, you can have it in your pocket. You can write on it. You have a lot of selected information about the place you visit, and at a low cost. If you lose it, when I go around with my iPad, I spend all the time taking care of it. I mean, where is my iPad? Where did I forget it? When I have the guidebook, I don't care. If you lose one guidebook, you buy another one, you know. So it's also, so it's not exactly dying these days, and it has stopped the decline. So this is also interesting information because it's a useful tool. Of course, every information is available online. We know this. But it takes a lot of time to collect all the information. So it means if you want to prepare, I've been to Marrakesh, for instance, 2 months ago, as I mentioned. To collect all the information online, it takes a lot of time. And the guidebooks, in the end, is a good bargaining because you have some selected information on it. Another, so it's not exact that it's dying, it's surviving quite well these days. And the other problem for us is that why, for instance, why do we buy book or guidebooks? I write books or guidebooks. Why? Not because I love old things, you know. It's not that the idea, but it's because they pay me. It means when I write a book, then I sell the book in the bookshop, and they give me some money for it. So this is my job. When I write online, I never know how I'm earning money, you know, for my family, for my life. So another big problem is in the technology is how you can earn your life. Of course, you can be a blogger, you can use advertising and so on, fine. But the old guidebooks is very clear. You write the guidebooks, you sell the guidebooks, you sell the guidebooks in bookshop, you get the money for your job. For the new informational technology, it's not clear how it works. I mean, how it can be your job. This is another problem to us. Anyway, to me, it's not a problem. I mean, I can have information here. It's not a problem if the information is on my smartphone. I mean, it's not a problem. I use the smartphone. I mean, it's not that the problem. Anyway, what I can tell you is that the guidebooks is surviving. Not, that's true. The young people are using them less and less. Do you use guidebooks? Have you used guidebooks in the last year? Did you? What was the brand? The brand, what's the name of the guide?
Lonely Planet.
Lonely Planet. And you as well? Lonely Planet? Yes? As well. Okay. So, 20% of the young people still use guidebooks. It's a good news. But I agree with you. I mean, I agree with you. I wouldn't use the word dying. It means I would use the word decline. And we still don't understand fully how to use the new technologies to get paid and to get selected information for this. We have bloggers, we have a lot of very interesting things, but we still don't understand exactly how it works. When I write a travel book, everything is clear. I write the book, I sell the book to the publisher to the bookshop to the customers to me. No. So we should work more on this chain of profit that is also chain of job. It's yes, please.
Is their job for me, because I kind of understand your point of view, but you are, I think, at least I remember when I was 21, and it's not that far ago, I didn't have the money, but I had a phone. I could say, and I didn't have the time. I could just arrive to Paris and write the exact sentence, what to do in Paris in 3 days. And it's all the contrary that you just said, because it's fast tourism, it's like capitalism, tourism. I mean, it's all bad, it's all wrong about this. Problem is, they don't really have the time nor the money, and this is one of, I think, the problem.
But a guidebook is not expensive.
It's not that it's expensive, but they need, they have to take it with them. The phone is just like you write a note on your phone. They need to, they are people that study. They don't have the time to read the guidebook. I have to say, the blog, it's fast, but it's really personal. I think the guidebook is much more long, but it gives you the opportunity to choose. Like, you see this, 10 places you cannot miss if you go to this place. And you will go to at least 7 of those places. But that was from the perspective of that person. Maybe that person liked gardens or food, and you want museums and parks. It's like kind of different, and as she said before, well, it's kind of personal, like choosing how to travel, the way you are traveling, is really, really personal. I kind of agree with you. Other people won't. But it's really, really personal.
If I can say one thing to this before you answer something, please do whatever you want. I mean, I do what I want. You do what you want. The main problem with some kind of tourism is that they are not sustainable for the environment. This is the main problem. Otherwise, I'm very much in favor of freedom. I'm very much in favor of freedom. Of course, if you go to Paris and your only source of information are blogger, 10 things to see, 10 places to see, of course the 10 places are always the same in some way. It's very much stereotypical, you know, and small discoveries, I would say. But anyway, please, you want to add something?
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem of money or time. I think it's a problem of content, because it's, I don't know a travel book that is made for young people. Like, all the activities are a lot of museums, lots of, like, it can be for young people too, but like, it's expensive hotels sometimes, expensive restaurants, and I think that the content needs to change and like to be, I would like a guide that is made especially for young people with cheap hostels, cheap restaurants, or like food trucks, or like some stuff like that.
So it's about money. It is about money.
Oh no, yeah, but not about the money to buy it, the money to spend once you are.
The whole experience.
Oh, okay.
I absolutely meant that. Like the whole thing, the train, the plane, the museum, the time, like what he said. So waiting for the Louvre, I waited for entering the Duomo of Milano, and I was there for an hour and a half. I had to pay to enter, and then I realized I'm not that much interested in some Catholic. The guy that they were giving me.
I remember your Spanish. Remember your Spanish, the Catholic.
Yeah, sure.
Very good. Okay, do you want to add something?
So, yeah, I would like to add something. So, of course, everybody can travel as they want and see what they want and based on your interest. And I know for sure the Lonely Planet being updated every year. Okay, so it's new things, but of course we can have in 2022 more content for young people and everything. That would be nice. But I can say to you that for me, guidebook will never die, because I've been in the situation where I didn't have I didn't have the possibility to charge my phone or my iPad, or I didn't have connection and everything. So what do you do in those cases? You have the guidebook, and that is an amazing thing to travel with, okay? And you can have everything there, okay? So I've been in so far remote places where I could nearly use my phone for a week or 2 weeks because they weren't connection. So how can you go around without maps, without anything, without information? And for sure, Lonely Planet or other guys, I don't know, will show you expensive hotel, but I'm sure that they have, I know it, they have also the cheaper option like hostel and everything, and they are updating every year. So for sure we can do more, but for me they will never die, because you will need them in a lot of places where technology has its limited, like it's not always like you can use it. So.
But I agree with you.
Yeah, like and. Yeah.
I don't want to travel book to die, of course. I want them to, but I know, because I also write in a travel book, and I know that we don't get a lot of money by selling them. We have the money, we have it from publicity, and not really by selling books. So I know that this is a problem with this, and you have to find a new.
Like it's more in places where you have technologies or connection everywhere, then maybe you don't really need a guidebook. Or where you are, I don't know, in the middle of Asia or Russia or Australia in the outback or whatever, and you need information about places, maybe not museum, but other things, and how can you move yourself? How can you know where to go?
But I agree, I want travel books.
I know, I've been there, you know, I've been there, and the only way was that one, you know?
Yeah.
If I missed, yes. Can I? Well, one curious element is that the first guidebooks were exactly created for young people. It means Lonely Planet, we saw the pictures, there were two youngsters and writing for other young people, writing for young hippies. So at least Lonely Planet was a guidebook for young people. Routard, it's a guidebook for young people. Let's Go, even today, it's a guidebook for young people. So most guidebooks in reality are for young people. The very fascinating problem is that these people and their readers, now they are in their 70s and they still want to travel. So the main problem for Lonely Planet they could not solve. We discussed the strategy of the company. It was very fascinating. They had one problem they could not solve, and this problem was that young people were still using the guidebooks, but they wanted a different things, a fresh thing, a young thing. But older people were still buying their favorite guidebooks, but they wanted a more comfortable experience. So this is very difficult to satisfy everyone, but most guidebooks were intended for young people. So the answer is very easy. Write the new one. You are the answer, you know. Write a new one and make all the young people happy and make all the old guidebooks to fail, you know. This is competition, modernity, success. And in the next 10 years, your new guidebook with your name on the cover will be the only one, you know, for young people. I'm joking, but just to say that the answer is write the new content. If you feel that new contents are needed, please do it, you know.
She did it. She wrote a travel guide.
If you send me a link, it's very interesting to me, of course. I know, you know, we have. I'm not here to tell the good old travel against the new tourists. You know, of course, we are a different generation. My sons are in their 20s, and it's very difficult to understand between different generations. This is a very good thing to me, you know. We are old, Giovanna, we have become old and old, we don't understand the new generation, and this is very good. It means that the world is new, is fresh, and we are not. And so to me, it's very important that I'm not criticizing, you know. I use what I need, I use what I like, I do what I feel I need, and that's fine. Please do the same. I suppose it will be different for you. Fine, you know. The one very interesting aspect of the world is the difference between the people, you know, among the people. So that's totally positive. I'm very curious anyway about your job, and a lot of publishers in guidebooks they don't know how to approach the young people, you know, because they don't buy books. This is another problem, of course. And how to make profits on the smartphone with good contents and not clickbait. This is another problem. This is the problem to us. Thank you. Okay.
You can go on asking questions to Claudio soon later. Now a short coffee break, and see you here 11:30. Okay.
To the participants of this event, which is CuriosiFVG 2022. The participants are sitting just in front of me. I'm very sorry that you can't see the faces of the people attending this workshop today. Michael Marino is here on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce of Pordenone Udine, and especially he's in charge of an European project which is taking care of sustainability in tourism. So I think that today we'll be talking to us regarding this topic. Is it right, Michael?
Yes, sure. Can I share the presentation?
I think so. Go ahead. Let's see if everything is working.
I will try.
Yes, it's working.
It's working?
Yeah, yes, we can see it, yes.
You can see it. That's perfect. Okay. Can I start?
Yes.
I'll start now. Thank you very much. I want to say thanks to IRSE for the invitation. And I'm here today to talk about the European Tourism Going Green 2030 project. That's a project in which it's working the Chamber of Commerce of Pordenone, Udine, with ITER and Asset Basilicata from Italy. And I'll go on with the next slide. This project, the slides are in Italian. I'm sorry, it was prepared in Italian, the slides. I will talk in English if it's better for the audience.
Yes, of course it's fine, and then they can find all the references on the website, which is in English as well, regarding the European project, so they can have further details on the website. Thank you.
Sure, of course. I will share with you the links of the website. This project is called European Tourism Going Green, ETZG 2030, and it has the aims to support the SMEs of the tourism sector in a path to achieve a more sustainable certification. And it's a path that is made to be for all, for not only for Italy, but for 6 countries that are Germany, Austria, Italy, Croatia, Romania, and Bulgaria. And we are 9 organizations in these 6 countries. And we are currently managing the project in all these different countries. There are 15 SMEs that are selected in Italy and 11 SMEs selected in the other 5 countries. Let's go to what the SMEs will achieve and will do during the project, for example in Italy, and which are the characteristics of these SMEs. Are all SMEs of the tourism sector, and they must have the NACE codes that are visible here in the slide. And in Italy are all SMEs of the provinces of Pordenone and Udine or of the region Basilicata. Instead, in the other countries, all the partners selected a specific area in which the SMEs are located. What the project offers to the SMEs. The project has these following objectives. There is an online community, and the participants will have the access to the platform during 2030. And there is an online kit for the sustainability for the to follow the steps to achieve the final certification and the objectives on sustainability. The candidates, the SMEs, the beneficiaries, will be part of an international community in which they will be connected with their colleagues of the other countries and in which they will be able to discuss about their ideas and good practices, international good practices regarding sustainability in tourism. The second bullet point is about the services one by one made by the experts that will follow the SMEs. In this project, you must know that there are some experts that are selected, and the SMEs will decide which is the expert that will follow them. And this expert will follow the SMEs with a coaching during all the duration of the project on sustainable tourism. And the SMEs will have 12 months to be able to be coached by the experts, by individual sections, and to achieve the steps and to achieve the certification that is the final objective of the project. There will be 3 workshops, peer-to-peer sections, And in Italy, for example, we have planned to do 3 workshops, one in the north, in Udine, one in the south, in Basilicata, in Matera, and one in Genova that will take place during the Mirabilia event. The 4th bullet point is about audit and certification. This project has the aim to promote also the sustainability certifications. So there is a synergies with also the other European projects, and the PMEs will have to choose the most suitable certification on sustainability, helped by their experts, and they will have to achieve it and until the end of the project. There will be at the end of the project a final conference in Vienna in which all the SMEs will be able to discuss together with their experts which are the objectives that they achieved during the 12 months of the project, and they will be able to have access to a platform in which there are all the SMEs that have a certification. The objective of this project is not only to create a network during the duration of the project, but is to create a network that can live longer also in the future and can include other SMEs in the future and that will be able to achieve their certification on sustainability on tourism. That's all from my side. If you have questions, I'm here to answer, and thank you for your attention.
We thank you so much, Mr. Marino. I think I'm asking if there are any questions here regarding the topic, which is referring to different European countries, as you said before. There is Germany, right? We do have German participants here. Among these very nice team, we have Slovenia represented here and Italy as well. And then you said Croatia, Romania, Bulgaria and Austria, of course. Slovenia is not among these countries. There is Croatia, right? Yeah. So the topic today has been sustainability, and I think that Europe is supporting the process of sustainability in tourism. Is it right?
Yes, for sure. That's a very important topic now, and this project has this as the main topic, for sure.
My question is, I have got a question. How does it come that Italy has got 15 SMEs in comparison with the other countries? Are we luckier than the other ones, or how does it come?
It is because we are 3 partners, and we will have the possibility to follow in a different way the SMEs in all the geographic area in Italy. Instead, the other countries have 1 or 2 partners that can follow in all the path the SMEs in their countries.
I see, I see. So, are there any questions? Anastasia, yes? Just a second.
I wanted to ask what kind of SMEs are those? Like, what do they do? What's their activities? And what's the certification about? Is it just for this project certificate, or is it just some European-wide certification in sustainability?
Was the question, could you hear it? Yes?
Yes, I could hear. And these are the 4 types of SMEs that could apply to participate to this project. They had to have the NASA codes 55.10, 0.20, 0.30, and or 79. So they are hotels, house for vacation, or other short duration housing, I think it's the correct translation, or travel agencies. And the NACI codes are these 4, only these 4. So the SMEs that has not these 4 NACI codes that applied to to the poll to try to participate in the project was excluded, obviously. And the other question was about the certifications, if I understood correctly, if are only European certification. And if you want, I can in just one second share with you the screen with also all the certification. I think that you can see it now. Yes.
Yes, we can.
This is a table that is you can find on destinet.eu on the website of the project, in which it's possible to see which are the certification that can be achieved in each one of the countries that are participating on the project. And so our certification both at national and European levels, and are valid both at international and European levels. It depends on the certification that the SMEs with their experts will choose to achieve during the project. I hope to have answered fully to the question.
I think so, I think so. Are there any other questions regarding this subject? Yes, Anastasia, go ahead. There is another one.
Sure.
I wanted to ask, how is it funded, this project? Just from COSME or from other assets as well?
I can't hear.
Can you ask it again, Anastasia? Maybe it was off, I put it off, right? Sorry, it's my fault, I put it off the microphone. Because Anastasia did the question properly. It's my fault, I'm very sorry about that.
Okay, I wanted to ask, how is this project funded? Just from COSME or from other assets as well, from municipalities and things like that? Thank you.
Okay. I didn't hear very loud, but I think I understood the question. And here it's possible to find the answer. So just to let you know how it works the website. So if you want to search other information, you'll be able to do it. This is the general homepage, and it's possible to click here and then click on About to see which are the main important information about the project. And here there is the project summary. And it's possible to see that this project is I'm searching the answer because I wanted to be sure. It was here. Okay, it's here. ETGG has been funded approximately by 1 million euros for 30 months from January 2021 by EU COSME program to bring together sustainability experts and business support organization in higher education, etc., etc. Did I understand correctly the question, because I didn't hear it well? I have to...
Yes, I think so, right? Anastasia, is it correct what you asked? Are there any other questions or curiosity regarding this European project? If I may ask, how many companies have been selected from our region, Friuli Venezia Giulia?
In Friuli Venezia Giulia have been selected 7 SMEs, instead in Basilicata 8 SMEs.
And among the ones selected in Friuli Venezia Giulia, are there which kind of SMEs in tourism?
Okay, I will need only 1 second to search the ranking list with the NACHE code, so I will be able to answer you, because I don't remember it, the correct number, but I will need only 1 second. Note here. Okay. there is, most of them are 55.10 from Friuli Venezia Giulia, and there is only 179. So according to what I showed you before, are one from Nature Code 79, so travel agencies, and all the other 6 are from hotels or similar.
Thank you. I think that there is the albergo diffuso from Sauris as well, right? Because we have been there yesterday. Is it right?
Yes, sure.
So they asked,
yes, sure.
asked to follow the process of being certified to become a sustainable destination as well, right?
They asked as well, yes. They have been selected in this project and they will be part of this path together to achieve the certification, for sure. Now, currently, we are, just to let you know, which is the step of the project in this moment, all the countries have selected their SMEs, and we asked to the SMEs to choose which is the experts that will follow them during the project. Because in Italy, we had to do a call for interest to have all the interests from the experts, to have a list of the experts that are interested in working in this project. And we asked to the SMEs to select one of these experts from the list. So we will have the couples of the SMEs and the experts, I think at the end of next week or at the beginning of the week after, and then the experts will start to follow their SMEs from July. So they will be able to start their path in this project.
Thank you very much. I have to say that I am one of the experts on the list. I'm very sorry, but I was minding for these reasons. So we will see what's going to happen next week, if somebody is going to choose myself. And
I cannot answer, but I can do a smile.
You have to smile. So we will meet. Hopefully, we will meet personally.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
For sure.
Are there any other questions or something that you want to know from the Chamber of Commerce or other things they are doing? Sustainability, maybe, which could be interesting for you to know, or something like this. If there are no questions, what shall I say? It was a pleasure having you here, Mr. Marino. I hope to see you soon. And
yes,
we
sure.
wish you a very nice job in this process of sustainable tourism, which is, I think, the future for Europe, for the young generations, and for our region as well. And I hope that these projects will help the SMEs to start this process, which is a must. So this is the end of tourism, as Copenhagen said some years ago. So we have to start with new tourism, and this is one of the tools we have. Thanks a lot on behalf of Curiosi del Territorio FVG 2022, IRSE, and Mrs. Laura Zuzzi and Leonora. They are standing here next to me. So I wish you a very nice day and a long weekend.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you all for the invitation. It was a pleasure to be here with you. Unfortunately, not physically. I hope that there will be another occasion in the future to meet in person, for sure with you, Ms. Tosetto, and also with the others. And I want to wish you all a nice day and a nice weekend. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and he speaks English quite well. I think that the mother is English or American, I don't know. He's a very young gentleman, yes. So, we had yesterday the chance of meeting a young boy in Sauris, the only one we met up there, and today we have another chance here, so it's not bad. I was smiling because I didn't want to create a kind of bribing when he was talking, but I've been listed among the experts, and it was by chance, because a friend of mine, she's a journalist, and she saw that there was this call for the experts on sustainability in tourism, and so I applied. And now we will see if somebody is asked to be, partner and followed by me along this process of sustainability. Something else I wanted to add regarding the presentation of Mr. Michael Marino on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce of Udine Pordenone is that the Chamber of Commerce is in Italy. They are caring about tourism during the last years as well. And what we are facing actually, there are two institutions dealing with tourism in our area, which is not very easy to manage most of the times, because there is the Destination Management Organization, which is CuriosiFVG. You have seen the presentation of Giorgio De Iuri the first day, and then we have the Chamber of Commerces. So they do both the same, but we don't know who's going to do what. So sometimes is having less maybe is more helpful than having more, let's say like this. But this European project is something that will help, of course, in dealing with the problem, the topic of sustainability, as you said before, and you have been talking about with Claudio Visentin before regarding this. I'm using the Macintosh, so with this kind of computer, I would like to show it just to summarize what we have been talking about. I don't want to bother you so much today, because you had a very nice presentation of Claudio Visentin, and I want to give you some more time if you want to ask some more questions to our guest today. Just to summarize and to try to understand a bit more what we have been talking about. Sustainable tourism, you know whom I am. I don't care about my presentation again. And of course, this is the official description of what tourism should be and what should be in the future regarding sustainability. This is an official description of what the United Nations World Tourism Organization are telling us regarding tourism, and it summarizes what Claudio was telling us with empathy, with enthusiasm, talking about interrail, slow traveling, another way of traveling, giving the priority to something you want to see or not to the masks or to the attractions we are used to find online or offline. Tourism that takes full account of its current and future economics, social and environmental impacts. So we are talking about three aspects of sustainability, which is very important. We have been talking about climate, which is environment mainly, but we have to talk about economics and social aspects. Yesterday you've been experiencing the new way of doing tourism on the mountains. And one of the most difficult aspects in these places is to realize, to develop and to plan economically and socially sustainable tourism. That means to train the guests to understand what these places can offer, not to ask something they are not able to offer, to be themselves, but on the same way to be sustainable, to give oxygen, to give life to the small enterprises, to the locals, to the artisans, to the places where to go and eat and things like this. So it's not just environment, and this is very important to keep in mind. And something else, I think, even though this is an official, let's say, meaning of sustainability in tourism, it's addressing the needs of visitors. What the girl from, the French girl was telling before, regarding the travel guides and things like this, this is the way to go. To try to understand the needs of visitors and not to try to create something that you want to sell to the visitors. It's a completely different way of thinking. And of course there is the industry, the environment, and the host community, which is becoming more and more important, and it will be in the future one of the main assets of tourism. Oh, sorry, why I'm going like that? Because it's like that, okay. We started from this kind of let's say, goals, which are the global goals for sustainable development, that they are, of course, regarding all the aspects, not just of tourism, but tourism is one of the industries that can affect these, the realization and the successful let's say, development of these global goals. We don't have so much time because this should be done by 2030, so it's not very far away. Of course, the project you have seen before, which has been explained by Michael Marino, is aiming to, let's say, lead these SMEs to get the certifications, not regarding all the 17 goals, but regarding some of these goals, the ones which are much more easily reachable, let's say like this. So it's a kind of process which helps the SMEs to get certified according to their type of business and to their, let's say, category and how they are. So as you can see here, it's not just regarding the environment, but it's regarding something which I'm really taking care of, even when I'm developing new trends in tourism. It's, for example, decent work and economic growth, which is something very important. People who work in tourism, they have to be well paid and they have to do something they like. Quality and education, which is number 4, which is, of course, something more to train people in the local community to be sustainable and to know how to offer their, let's say, aspects, their traditions, their roots. Have you seen yesterday, for example, the shop we went to, the weaving shop? She was a very simple lady. She's been working. She's a weaver. She's not doing anything else. She was just explaining what she does. She was talking about herself. This is the way that the local community should behave to be, let's say, sustainable for their future. And these are the 3 aspects that summarize a bit this process of sustainability: the planet, environment, the people, the community, and the profit. We have been talking with Miss Claire as well during the last presentation regarding zero distance when you buy local products and things like this. She was telling you that she was helping during these COVID, the small places to sell their products. She was doing an updated of this list and things like this. Of course, this goes to this direction, to sustainability. And when we talk about tourism, we have to keep in mind all these 3 aspects. So we have been talking about planes, we have been talking about trains, railway, and means of transportations as well. Now it seems as if, for example, I was talking with a friend of mine, she's the owner of a small travel agency. They've been able to survive thanks to the funds they received from our region during the COVID time. And now, after Easter, they thought that tourism should have been once again proximity, and it's not like this at all. People are like crazy. They want to travel, they want to buy the tickets, they want to fly. Sorry, Claudio, I'm telling what's on the opposite side. They want to fly, even though they are trying to explain them that, for example, Amsterdam is closing some flights. 20% of the flights will be cancelled because they don't have the staff to operate. London is not guaranteeing the services. Gatwick is having delays in delivery of the luggage and things like this because there is staff missing. So I mean, on the other side, there are these problems. There one, sustainability, sustainable, and let's say travelers that they feel the problem of sustainability, so they are sensitive about these problem. And on the other side, here in Italy, because this is has been told by different travel agency, and reading on the literature is like that, of course, during these last months, people, they are getting mad to travel, to fly, to do what they haven't been doing during the last 2 years. So this is a very difficult process to do, of course, but we cannot forget it, we cannot ignore it, let's say like this. Sustainability, the other point is that the SMEs, sometimes they are scared to become sustainable in tourism because they think that it is too expensive As somebody of you was asking before regarding the flights, you were asking about the low flights, low-cost flights, and the railway tickets. Sometimes they seems to be less expensive, but there is, of course, in the backstage somebody who's paying for these flights. And for the SMEs, the process to become sustainable, it's a bit expensive because they have to change their habits. They have to train their employees. They have to know what to do and have to change something they were using before. But in the long term, it will be very profitable. So it's a process they have to do and to go. And where can you start from? If you want to have a tool, a practical tool to start with, and to go a bit deeper in knowing what sustainability in tourism means, this is the Bible. This is the Bible. It has been translated in different languages, in Arabic, French, German, English, whatever you want, Italian as well, Chinese, and so on and so forth. These are the regulations and the rules for the enterprises working in tourism. This is an institution, an official world institution working together with the United Nations World Tourism Organization, and it's called Global Sustainable Tourism Council. They delivered regulations for different kind of SMEs, dealing in accommodation, hotels and accommodations, as you can see, for tour operators, for destinations and governments, for corporate and business travel, for certification bodies. Somebody, Anastasia, was asking which kind of certification. Here you find this huge amount of certification institutions. We have more than 100 institutions that are certifying. How can you choose among this? You choose among the most important ones in your country. For example, if you are in a hotel in Italy, one of the most popular one is Green Key. They do have a branch office in Italy as well. So you have to think about which is my market, whom I'm receiving. Am I receiving people from Northern Europe, or maybe they are most sensitive regarding this certification body, or with this other one. So you have all these kinds of regulations. And last but not least, for travelers. Our traveler should behave himself when traveling sustainable. So it's not just about the SMEs. We are the ones who have to become more experienced and to be trained how to become sustainable travelers. You can follow their LinkedIn and they update, they do webinars if you're interested in this topic. You can read about things they are doing, they have a newsletter and things like this. Of course, this is an official site, official institution. But most of these certification bodies, they are, let's say, looking to these criteria, starting from these criteria and then going further. If some of you would like to be certified and become an expert in sustainability in tourism, you can start from this. You can do a master online in English, and then you get certified. You have to do an exam and you get certified. Oh yes, of course. Here you are, GSTC. It's in English. You can follow, I mean, it's an online training. Most of the, let's say, training courses, they are held by very young teachers, and most of them, they live in Australia. So that's quite interesting. But my tip is to read, to go in the website, to check, to see the regulations, to see the program, everything, and then to decide what you want to do. Because I think that if you want to work in sustainable travel and tourism, this is the starting point. I didn't put another slide which can be very important for you, sorry, since you are interested in training and things like this, but you can just write it down. Digital Tourism Think Tank, Digital Tourism Think Tank, Serbatoio tank, like a tank. They are doing design thinking sustainability online, which is very, very interesting. They are all young guys, very young guys. And Nicolas is the older one, I think he's 35, so just to give you an idea. and they are doing design thinking in sustainability in tourism. So just follow them online and you will see, if you're interested, Digital Tourism Think Tank. Did you find it? Okay, it's great. Sorry. So this GSTC, of course, sustainability has been affecting even the most important platform and websites. Booking.com is having a report, Sustainable Travel Report 2021. It will be issuing the next one 2022. And it's even differentiating the hotels belonging to these booking. They can check if they are sustainable, and there is a sustainable hotels list on Booking. What did they do it for? Because there is the request. There are guests who are looking for sustainability. Of course, we are talking from Italy. Italy and the Southern Europe is not so much sensitive, not yet, about sustainability in tourism. We will be heading forward, but the northern countries, such as Sweden, Finland, Norway, Slovenia, of course, even though you are not a northern country, but you have been looking to sustainability, they are very sensitive about this. And Booking, since they are doing marketing as well, of course, they fully understand that this is the way to go. So a hotel, if it's on Booking, it can go inside, they've got the password, they can check how much they are sustainable. And if they reach a certain percentage, they can join the list of sustainable hotels without doing any further certification. But of course, for travelers who are very deeply sensitive about sustainability, they don't trust Booking so much as they do the real certification we were talking before, when there was even the presentation of this European project. Of course, these trends are following the trends of lifestyle, of health and sustainability, and green tourism. As we have been talking about slow tourism, this is something very similar to that. And we have plenty of things for a website to check, for example, sustainable accommodation. This is EcoBnB. You can go inside, there is a link for the Italian EcoBnB as well. And in these websites, you see, for example, how much you spare in CO2. You can see how many trees have been saved, because what's the problem of sustainability? In tourism, especially in tourism, I'm dealing with sustainability in tourism, so I don't know in the other sectors, of course. Everybody is doing greenwashing. Everybody nowadays is talking about sustainability and experiences in tourism. Everybody. If you check on the website and you write down experiences, everybody, DMOs, travel agencies, and sustainability. This is most of the times greenwashing. Because if you have to start a process of sustainability in tourism, first of all, you have to check, to monitor how the situation is. How is it nowadays? The first step, if you're going further with your training, you will learn, is to monitor. How much do we use to wash the laundry, for example? How much electricity do we use daily? How much water consumption, and so on and so forth. Starting with these data, if you are looking at the environment and things like this. And then you can develop a strategy, and then you can get certified. But the first steps are this one. So as you can see, this is just one of the examples, sorry. Then there is a very nice example of hotels. Here we are in Norway, so it's a kind of not impacting hotel at all. I don't know if in Italy something like this would be possible, of course, but it's a very nice best practice example. Since you are very young, I think it's quite interesting and fascinating. This is the architecture dealing with sustainability as well. First of all, sustainable because it doesn't spoil the landscape. Secondly, the materials they've been using. Third, the energy they are using, which is everything is recycled. There is no consumption of water, nothing. So it's something that is often taken as one of the best practices in accommodation. And talking about this, if you want to go deeper in sustainability, one of the first northern countries that have been really involved in sustainable processes is Finland. Finland has been doing a training, a mass training for the SMEs, free of charge. That means, do you want to jump now for sustainability? Yes, we help you. We do what to do. You get certified by the national DMO, and you are followed by the DMO, Destination Management Organization. So Finland is one, let's say in Europe, one of the best examples. So they were the ones who were launching some years ago, Rent a Fin, how to live with locals. I don't know if you have seen it, Rent a Fin. That means you could have rent a Finn, a young like you are, for example, and going to Finland, get welcomed by this young guy and live with him or with her, doing the sauna as they wanted to do it, or rent a Finn. I mean, a Finn, a person from Finland, right? When it started to do the COVID, they did it online. If you're going online, you will see Rent a Finn, and they tell you what to do, how they use the woods, what they do, what is their hobbies, and things like this. And then they did a questionnaire, which was very interesting, how to be happy, because Finland is one of the happiest countries, even though they drink a lot. Maybe this is one of the reasons, I don't know. But they did this questionnaire, and it became very, very, popular, because you could have gone on the website, answered some questions, and then you had the rate of how happy you were. So they did a kind, let's say, of buzz marketing regarding happiness. And Travel Sustainable, I don't know if it's working. There was a very short video. I don't know if you have time. Maybe yes, just to, let me see. No, it's not working. So I'm sorry. You will, I thought it was working, but I changed it to PDF, so it's not working. But you can see on YouTube what's their philosophy and the mission of Visit Finland. And inside the website, you can even find the way you can become sustainable as an SME. What they are asking you for to become a sustainable SME. Then we have something in Italy. To be sustainable means even to preserve the animals. So this is something nice. Adotta una mucca, it's in Italian, and it's on the Alps. How do I adopt a cow? You can go inside, it's very nice. They were trying to, let's say, to attract families to their destination. So you can adopt a cow, but in the regulations, you have to go there to spend 2 overnights.
You went there?
Did you?
Yes, my cow's name is Yolanda.
Right. Yes, you get the cheese, right? Yeah, you get the cheese. You get to know the cow. You have to go there to get to know the cow.
Yes, you have the identity card of the cow.
Yes.
You have the identity card and you have to look for the cow among all of them.
Yes, you have a choice. You can choose your cow. We did something like that in IRSE, for example, before starting with the experiences you had yesterday, which is a new process. 3 years ago, we started with the adopt a cheese. So what did we do? We asked the tourists to come over to IRSE. We went with them up to the mountains with a person who's aging the cheese. He was telling us what's the cheese, what is it made of, and things. Then the persons were choosing a piece of cheese. We were putting the name over it. And then the person was doing photos every 2 weeks, showing how this cheese was aging. And then, according to the season, the person, the owner of this cheese, was asking to send the cheese back to him and to give it as a Christmas present. It was personalized with the branding of the owner of the cheese. My best wishes to you, Giovanna. This is my cheese. Yes, we did something like this as well. So the cow is something, the evolution of this one, which has been done by this destination, which is in Valsugana, is it right? And it was, let's say, developed to create a sustainable farmers there, because this adoption helps the farmers to keep their cows, and of course helps the destination to be more popular, to become more popular, but with sensitive and sustainable guests. That's the evolution. So this, I wanted to show that one. And then, as I promised you the day before yesterday, this is a very amazing process this Italian destination has been doing. This is Trentino. Of course, it's something else than Friuli Venezia Giulia. We asked the poor brothers of Trentino. Trentino is doing so many things for tourism. This is Dolomiti Paganella. They decided to go further to this process of sustainability. The general manager of the destination management organization is a young guy, and he decided to, let's say, get this idea of sustainability, starting with the young generations. So they organized future labs, they are called like this. You will find on the website even the English version of the updating of this process, asking the young generations, what do you want to have? We have 2 million tourists per year. Do you want to have the same and to spoil the landscape, the environment, or what do you want? What are you looking for? Which is, I mean, in Italy it's quite unusual to ask the young generation what you want to do, at least in tourism. So this was something, you can see the project, there were the administrators, tourist operators, local residents. APT is the DMO, Destination Management Organization, the tourists. So it is still a process done, it's not yet finished, in a place where there were plenty of tourists. Mainly, this is a destination mainly known for ski resorts, but then they changed the ski resorts into mountain biking during summer, so using both seasons, of course, and now they are going towards sustainability. And here there are, of course, the process, the four key of the project. First of all, to understand what was the DNA of the area. I want the new generations. What are the new generations doing? What they want to do? What they want to further do? Climate change. This is an asset, of course, everybody is facing daily. And then tourism imbalance. That means to give a balance in tourism. So many tourists and so many inhabitants and locals. Otherwise, we spoil everything, not just the environment. We do have very nice examples of sustainability, which has been, let's say, this has been the first skiing area plastic-free, which is Peio, Val di Sole. Once again, it's Trentino. I'm sorry to say this, but it's like this. And then there is Switzerland. Sustainable. They changed the branding. They changed the branding. They changed the branding in sustainable. There was another video here, but it doesn't work, forget it. And it's the same process as Finland. They changed the brand. If you agree about this philosophy of becoming sustainable, they will help you to do this, and you will be able to use the branding of sustainable, so to be sustainable in Switzerland. This is a very nice website. I suggest you to have a look. This was born in Sweden. Some young guys, they decided to put together these sustainable ideas, have a look inside about the project. There are different ideas about sustainable development goals, and most of them they are all regarding better tourism, but they are referring to the goals I showed you before, 2030. And they are all over the world. So just have a look. They are updating them constantly, so it's very interesting. If you have sustainable ideas in tourism, you can just ask to be inside this website. And of course, then there are very nice examples. Green and Sustainable Copenhagen. Copenhagen was, Denmark was one of the destinations that came out some years ago with the end of traditional tourism. They used this spot, which was quite shocking at the time. They say the end of traditional and typical tourism, we have to start again, as Claudia said before, something completely different. And they are going further and further with Green and Sustainable Copenhagen. It's a very nice example dealing with sustainability in tourism in all the aspects, business tourism, leisure tourism, hospitality, and things like this. Of course, Scandic is an hotel chain. Northern Europe hotel chain, and they have, as you can see, sustainability on their website. So you can check what for them means sustainability. And the guest who's sleeping in this hotel, he knows exactly how much it will be spared, and not just putting, you know, in the bathroom. If you don't throw the towels like this, you know, this is useless, because if you are going to check and you monitor that, there is really, it's useless. Berlin, Germany is doing it as well. They are proposing now a lot of sustainable meetings in Berlin. They're presenting this year. They changed the website. So they are doing a lot of efforts for businesses. For example, what does it mean, sustainable meetings? For example, you have a company that wants to do a meeting in a hotel. They suggest you to do it in this date, to use the same materials that the previous one has been using, sparing money and not throwing away the things. Or they do, for example, the catering. They sign some agreement with poor institutions for poor or things like this, and they give the food that remains to these institutions. They don't throw anything away. So, and there are a lot of companies, business companies, that they are very sensitive about this. So it's very important. I put this because I was, positively impressed. I was in Berlin in March, and in my hotel, you know, usually they say don't throw the towels and so on and so forth. And I found this small bag. It's made of tissue, and they ask you to put this one outside if you don't want to have your room done, to be green. And if you do it, you get a surprise. And I got a surprise, and then the housekeeper gave me this Studentenfutter in the bag. So it's very nice. But it's the thing, you know, how to let the people do something. It was the surprise. So I said, wait, I am curious, what will be the surprise? So I put this bag outside because I didn't want anybody to make up my room and to be green. I usually do it like this. And I received a surprise by the hotel. It was a very simple hotel, but I will keep in mind this hotel as a sustainable hotel. So the tissue is sustainable, of course. It's done by locals, so it gives money to the ones who did it. I don't agree about this Studentenfutter, actually. I would have been putting something else, but it's okay, it's fine. It can be improved. And this is the project that Mr. Marino was showing you before. It's a project inside a big platform, European platform for Tourism 2030, which is following the goals of Tourism United Nations goals 2030. So if you want to go further, you can check all this kind of thing. Here you have just an idea of all the certifications institutions. There are a lot of them. This is me, finished. It's finished. So just some tools. You can, you find me, but we will be together on Sunday as well. This is my email address. LinkedIn, Facebook, I use it not so much, but Instagram, I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. No, nothing. If you have any questions, I think that it's a bit late. You are going for lunch, right? But if you have 2 or 3 questions, we can still answer. Otherwise, I want to point out our program for Sunday. May I? So on Sunday, we will be meeting in Cividale. And I give you some tips how to wear. We will be doing a short blog tour, so you have to take your smartphone. You have your smartphone. I will just show you some hot spots of Cividale, and then you have to take pictures, photos by yourself. Then I will give you an email address where to send these photos to. And then we will be having the canoe. So all of you will be going on the canoe. On a canoe. If you are scared, no problem. You don't have, you're not, it's a very short ride, but you have to have shoes that can enter the water, because you have to go, the feet will be wet for sure. And it's just a very nice experience, because you go under the Devil's Bridge, which is an amazing bridge that joins the town from one side to the other. It's a very short ride, it takes more or less 10-15 minutes. And then after the canoe riding, you will be having the taste of Cividale, and then we will be checking your photos. There will be somebody checking your photos, and if they are nice, they will be using for the promotion of the destination. Yeah. Yes, very nice. And you will be officially judged, let's say like this. And in the afternoon, we will be driving from Cividale to Udine. And then you will be, I will be guiding you in Udine, and then you will be having free time in Udine. And so that's our Sunday together. We have this kind of stuff. The shoes are very important, and if you are scared of water, things like this, of course you are not, there is nothing compulsory, but I think it's worthwhile to do it.
Can you just go in the canoe without your shoes?
If you want, yes.
Can we swim?
Without shoes?
Swimming is another point. I mean, it's not allowed to swim inside the city. You can go with your feet inside the water if you want. There are two touch points there. One is there where they are starting with the canoe because they are trying to do a bit of sustainable tourism in this destination, which is a UNESCO site. It became a UNESCO site 2011. It's a national UNESCO site along the footsteps of the Lombards, so they were scared of having just culture. For young generations, they started last year to do canoeing inside the city, and they are doing biking as well. And there is another place, we have to see how the level of the water of the river is because it has not been raining, but there is a staircase you can go down the river with your feet, yes, for sure. But swimming is not there, is not so nice, and it's not allowed to do it because the water is very, very cold. It's for you. You come from Portugal. No, for you it's warm. It's warm. It's warm. For us, it's. I mean, ice is cold. Yes, and but it's nice. It's very nice. You will love it because the river crosses the town. It's. Yes, it's a very nice river, a very clean river because there are no industries, no factories. We use it for tourists who want to come for fishing as well. So, yes, it will be an amazing experience. Yes, even without shoes, of course, no problem. Are there any other questions regarding the experience or no? So if there are no other questions, not even for Claudio, we wish you a very nice afternoon. This afternoon you are going by bike, right? So enjoy your afternoon and see you on Sunday with your tutors and all the stuff. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you.